Hello and welcome to the Side One YouTube channel, and in this video we're going to unbox and have a look at a digital microscope. This is one I picked up from Banggood out of China. It's one I've looked at for a little while, so let's open it up and see what we get. Okay, so we have got a user guide. Which is in multiple languages. Not quite all Chinese, but over half of the manual appears to be in Chinese. Okay, wrapped in plastic. So this is a nice 7-inch display. Okay, so this is the camera module. So you can see a little hole in the bottom there where the camera sensor is, and around the outside is a ring of LEDs and a diffuser in front of that to soften the light a little bit. Okay, so on the top we have a microSD card slot, and we have a USB slot for charging. Now, in researching this, I probably should have gone for a different model, but this one does not have support for direct connection to a PC, so I can't use it to stream from. But I can record to the micro SD card and then include that in my videos later. Alright, so also in the box, this is a stand to hold the microscope in. It's actually quite sturdy. It's got a little bit of gravity to it, a little bit of mass, and it feels quite good. Okay, we also have some miscellaneous hardware. Okay, so a lead with some buttons on it, USB for power, micro USB, that end will plug into the microscope, and I believe that plugs into the base to power the little lights that are here. Yeah, it'll plug into there. So these are just two LEDs on goosenecks, flexible adjustable arms. Nothing else in the box, so we'll discard that. So the idea is these lights can supply a light source from a different angle compared to that coming from the camera. Okay, so let's have a look at the hardware. Looks like it's got an Allen key in there. Some springs, clamps. That would be to clamp down your work. And some good Allen key cap head screws for mounting of this part. So that'll mount here. So let's do that now. Okay. So that would go through there, and then screw into the base. And that can be swung out of the way when you're not using it. Well, at least I hope it can. Okay, pull those back a bit. That looks pretty good. Alright, let's get it some power. Now, something I haven't shown yet on this, and as you might imagine I have read the manual for this already. This has got provision for a battery which is not supplied. Now this is a 18650 battery, so you can charge it and operate it without the power supply. But when doing so, while you can use the LED ring that's on the camera, or the microscope, you can't use the base LEDs. So on the back, these two screws clamp this in, but that loose ring will still allow it to rotate while holding it in place. Okay. So it looks like the USB plug is about 1.5 meters, and I'd say about 400 mil on 450 maybe on the two leads from the buttons. Now I have got a source of power nearby. Now I have a small circuit board with a small chip on it, so we'll throw that under and see what it looks like. And it's out of focus. Now on the camera or the microscope, there is a ring here which adjusts the focal point. There we go, that's the bottom in focus. So I'm going to... Right, so we can adjust the height to make details smaller, and then adjust the focus so we can see more. Okay, so this turns the power off to the microscope as well. So you can't, only way to turn off the bottom lights fully is to unplug the lights. Alright, so let's zoom. And here's our light brightness here. So you can zoom in two ways. You can move the camera or the microscope closer to what you're looking at, or you can zoom in on the display. So that chip there, alright, so that's an M121. That chip's actually used for touch sensors. So this is actually a 12-channel touch sensor. I2C connected, running off 3.3 volts. And something I'm playing with, it's got a little bit of cat hair on it, something I'm playing with for adding into Fred's forearms a little bit further down the track. They're pull-up resistors on the side. So 3.3 to pull-up resistors. Let me get something with a sharper point on it to point with. So those three resistors look like 10k. Connect from the 3.3 volt trace pad to these three pads here. We flip the board over. That's these three trace pads here. They run round to the top of these pads here on the SDA, the SCL and the interrupt. And they connect to the bottom pad. On all of them. Now it looks like they're connected through trace down through here. Yeah, it looks like there's a trace all the way through that. I have no idea why you would put that there, those pads. But the top holes do connect to the chip. Oh, right, I get it. So those three traces coming from the resistors connected to 3 volt go to the top of the pad, top set pads here, here and here, and the bottoms go to here, go through the board, and to the chip. So you can actually cut those to take the built-in pull-up. So this has the pull-up resistors built into it that's sometimes required on an I2C bus. For those who are not familiar with the I2C bus and how they work, you have your main lines, the clock and the data lines, pulled high using resistors at each end of your bus, and then the devices will pull it down to communicate. So this has got built-in pull-up resistors on it. Something to keep in mind. You don't want to have too much pull-up resistance or too many pull-up resistance as connected to your SDA and SCL lines, because that will make it too hard to pull the line down. It'll supply too much power. So they've added little traces between the pads that you can cut, and then if you've realized you've screwed up and you shouldn't have cut them, they're close enough to just join them with a solder pad. Alright, so I've been able to identify all of the part, or most of the parts on this. So we have a small 75k resistor over here. We have our main chip. I can probably pull up the data sheet on this. We've got our 10k resistors over here. So we've got 3.3 interrupt, serial clock, serial data, an address pin and ground. And if we look at the address pin in the data sheet, we'll find how to use that. And usually it entails leaving it floating, tying it high or tying it low. And in some systems I've also seen where they will tie it to the clock. So I'll just see if I can find the data sheet for it. Right, it's a capacitive touch sensor. The full part number is MPR121. Okay, so the address line, if we connect it to VSS, VDD, SDA or SCL, we can choose 0x5A, 0x5B, 0x5C and 05D respectively. So depending on where you connect that address pin to, whether it be to ground, SDA, SCL or 3.3 volt, selects the address that this is on. So we can have up to 4 of these on the one I2C bus, which is something to remember for the future. Alright, well that successfully proves that this microscope works. I haven't gone through all the features on it yet, so let's have a look and see what else we've got. It has the facility to record. So for that you need to put a microSD card into it first, which I've done. I slipped that in while you weren't looking. And you can take a photo. Oh, it's now recording. So up in the top corner here you can see the digits have gone red and it's now recording. I don't need that light on. And the card's full. Alright, so we'll have to empty the card. We have mode. We have zoom. So I think there's not a great deal to it really. The only thing that's really important about this thing is the fact that you can get to it. Just to give you an idea, that is all the way up. I can't go up any higher than what it is currently. I can't I am seeing pretty much the full height of that board and a little bit either side. You can see how big my fingers are in comparison. And if I bring that board up to the top and sit it on the screen, that's that same board. So I will put that back in under the microscope. Try and center the chip this time. It is a little bit sloppy. Lock that in place, and you can see that little tiny chip that was on the board is now fairly easy to read. Now I do have some lighting over the top, but that chip that we were looking at is just that little tiny square there. So that's a fair deal of magnification. Normally I wouldn't be working that low. That's enough mostly to see the pins when you're soldering, or if you're pulling apart some small device like I've done in the past. Alright, so I will put a link to this in the description. It was from Banggood. It is not an affiliate link, so if you can find this from other sellers, so be it. It almost looks like it's got provision for an infrared there, but I don't see, there was nothing coming in the box and there's nothing in the manual about it. I did query about whether or not it could be upgraded to allow it to connect to a PC so we can use it as a video source, and apparently it can't be, which is a bit of a downer. I think that would actually make it a better unit. Someone did say that you can clamp further down on the throat to get it up higher to get a bigger field of view. Which you can do. So you very easily see all of that board now. Turn the overhead light off. And I've still got shadow from the room lights. So yeah, it appears to be a very nice unit. Display wise, I'll know more when I've had a chance to play with it more fully. This screen is obviously tiltable. I've got it tilted almost flat for the camera to see better. I might even see if I can pull that bit of recording I got out of it before I ran out of memory card. It was just one I had lying around. That's better. And we'll see it. Okay, so that'll do for this video. Oh God, look at the dirty mess they left of the flux on that when they made that board. I've had this board for a couple of years in a drawer, so it's just not been cleaned up after the parts have been soldered. Alright, if you like this video, don't forget to click on like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. It's a form of support that helps the channel and costs you nothing. If you'd like to support the channel further, I do have a Patreon account, and you can join my VIPs, Go Lucky and Lorenz Burger in supporting the channel. I also have other Patreon levels, Alt Morales 45. All my Patreons get the videos early, I also have a Discord server and a growing community there. You may find help in there, or you may be able to help someone else. Come along and enjoy the fun. And we'll see you in the next video.